Zainab. This name has baffled millions across Pakistan these past few weeks. On 4th of January 2018, a news of 7-year-old little girl being raped and brutally murdered, then thrown in the dumpster broke the internet. This news story is something which did not went unnoticed. People from all sectors came forward and condemned this brutality and asked the government to catch the animal who committed this horrific sin. In the midst of all the noise, I couldn't help but to think how much we as a society are responsible for such incidents taking place. According to the latest numbers released by Sahil, an organization that deals with child protection with a special focus on sexual abuse in children, a total of 1,764 cases were reported from across the country in the first 6 months of 2017 alone. By the end of the year, the number went up to 4,139, which makes an average of 11 cases per day. The surprising part is how this remains a taboo in a country where it happens on a daily basis. The question is, till what point we as a society stay silent and not address the elephant in the room? Unfortunately, our elders are persistent in their idea of not discussing and thus not educating their kids about what biological and physical changes to expect, to not be ashamed to go to their parents for their queries. Although a very positive step has been taken in Johoi village by Shahadabad organization, an organization working on educating the local girls in government schools, while speaking to Reuters, Akbar Lashari, head of the organization, said, "We cannot close our eyes. It's a topic people don't want to talk about, but it's a fact of life." Around 700 girls are enrolled and being educated in regular school courses and what they have to do in situations where they need to protect themselves. I took the streets in order to take the opinion of what young people think about introducing sexual awareness in children.
As far as sexual education is concerned, it's high time we start teaching our kids that. It's got nothing to do with religion. I won't compare it to Western societies because they're on a sort of different spectrum. But what we can do is slowly, if you want to take the religious aspect, start integrating Quranic translation with this type of education into your curriculum. What really angers me is where when you start a topic like this, people just literally shut their ears, shut their eyes, they get a blank look over their face and they just stare at you like you're some, I don't know, heathen talking about some random, I don't know, pigeons.
It's also very important for them to learn about such things so that they do not gather misconceptions from other sources like magazines or internet, because if the parents are not open to communicating such things about with their children, the children are not going to be able to talk about incidents or things that are going to happen to them. God forbid, if anything happens to them, they won't be able to talk about it with their parents. They will be able to save themselves from abuse if they know how to save themselves. They might be able to do something.
हम लोगों को जब हम फ्यूचर में पेरेंट्स बनेंगे तो हम लोगों को चाहिए कि अपने किड्स को इस तरह एजुकेट करें और एक बेटर वे में उन्हें समझाएं. आई नो इट्स अ टैबू टॉपिक, बट अगर हमने अपने फ्यूचर को बचाना है या अपने यानी जनरेशन को सेव करना है तो इट्स रियली इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर अस कि हम उनको एक तरीके से बिठा के और एक तरीके से समझाएं कि हाँ अब हम लोगों को स्टेप लेना है इस बारे में, और हाँ कि ये चीज़ किस तरह के कोई स्ट्रेंजर है उसको किस तरह आपने डील करना है और किस तरह वो करना है.
I think it's a taboo topic, very unfortunately here in Pakistan, but I think it's high time regarding whatever happened in Kasur. I think we should all start talking about it, start teaching our kids about it, start talking to our siblings about it, just teach them little bit of things like to differentiate between good touch and bad touch and where not to go and who not to trust. And I think it's high time that we should do it as a nation and come together, because it's a sad world we're living in and it's very sad about whatever has happened. Usually, normally, whatever happens to the kids, it happens outside the premises of their home when they leave their homes. So primarily the kids leave their home to go to the schools to get education. So why not get started from here and we'll see where we go from there.
I couldn't find anyone who would disagree or to object. I did come across some faculty members of a university who actually said, "We are in denial," by looking the other way from the topic. But when I asked him if he could say that in the camera, he said he didn't want to be a part of a controversy that would follow. while speaking about raising awareness about this issue with Dr. Kiran Bashir Ahmed, a psychologist and a teacher of psychology.
In the light of recent events in Kasur, I feel that it's very important for sexual awareness in children to be promulgated. Now, a lot of people might question this and say that maybe sexual awareness is akin to sex education. It's not, and that's the most important thing here. The idea is that sex awareness is actually part of awareness about bodies, awareness about gender, and gender roles. This idea starts in children from 2 to 3 years of age when they start differentiating between I'm a girl and he's a boy, and so on. And that is the point at which sex awareness really becomes important, because children are curious by nature. They start to explore bodies, they start to explore a sense of self, they gain a sense of identity. And at that time, if they start noticing what exactly is different, and even when they notice that touching or fondling gives pleasure in some way, because of course they would be able to experiment, at that time it's important for parents to really guide them. Apart from that, now if we look at the idea of why sex awareness is important, and as a child grows older, we have this issue to deal with about children going with strangers or even with someone they know. More than a sense of privacy and a sense of self, parents need to be very clear on who they are really going to have their child converse with, how they are going to have their child go and perhaps meet certain people, and if the child is really protesting against meeting someone and saying that I don't want to meet this or that person, that needs to be taken seriously. Sex awareness is also about training parents. Social psychology talks about a lot of boundary lines, invisible lines that we have when we are conversing with people. There are certain distances that we follow as a rule, and children unfortunately are not really subject to those rules. The struggle that we have here is real. We need to help parents first understand that they need to make their children aware, and for that we need to first make the parents more understanding. Awareness programs, trainings, workshops, seminars, a lot needs to be done in this process, and unfortunately I would say here the media is not helping. I recently had a chance to go and visit a few TV stations, and the interviews I managed to give there were full of takes and retakes, coupled with the idea that there were certain things I couldn't say. If I can't say them, then it's very difficult for me to even convey the idea of what's important there. And that, I think, is the biggest barrier facing many of us psychologists these days.
Some may also object and try to give it a non-Islamic aspect. However, the head of Pakistan Ulama Council, when asked about teaching children of a certain age and educating them about issues related to their sexuality, Tahir Ashrafi responded, "Such lessons are permissible under Islamic law as long as they were segregated and confined to theory." It is said, admitting you have a problem is the first step towards fixing the problem. It's time to step out of our man-made taboos and face reality. The more we disregard this problem, the more chances we lose to save our kids. The sooner we take steps towards these issues, the safer our society becomes. And we wouldn't have to wake up for another Zainab raped, murdered, dumped in the trash.